And we're coming to you live for the Built for Tough studio. Flumer, Asias, and Greg Giannotti. It's Flumer and Gio on the fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are, the free Odyssey app. Yes, Boomer is out again today with the flu. And apparently he did not get any better yesterday, which now this is like a little fun thing that we were having, busting his balls, and maybe it's more serious. He's a guy in his 60s with the flu. So now
not great.
It's now I'm worried about him, and I guess I have to stop making fun of the situation. But, yeah, my voice doesn't sound great today. It's not 100%. But this, I think, has everything to do with the little cough that my girls had and nothing to do with the flu that Boomer was trying to give us. Because I feel great. I feel 100%. I just have a little bit of a scratchy throat, so I don't think that's going to turn into the flu, Jerry, and I'm knocking on wood and plastic and all sorts of stuff. But we've got CeeLo in for you. You're back in for Boomer. It's a feel-good Friday. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Feeling pretty good so far myself. It's Friday. It's a nice holiday weekend. I'll tell you, the feeling driving around yesterday, so I played golf with my son in the afternoon, and driving home, it felt like a Friday. Like it felt like the weekend. And it hit me. It was Holy Thursday. A lot of people are off today. And, yeah, it had a very vibrant, spring-like, everybody's out. Maybe we're past the crappy weather finally. It's a good day. Very good day.
Yeah, it was, and it's going to be nice again today. It's going to be almost 80 degrees in New York City on Saturday, in the 70s by me, which is incredible because usually we're like 20 degrees colder than the city. So, yeah, it's great. Holiday weekend, a lot of people having off today. We may have more people watching us on TV than driving around today. But, yeah, it's feeling a lot more like spring, and also, you know, with the spring feel comes the spring sports type of things, like playoff basketball that is happening tomorrow with the Knicks and the Pistons. The draft less than a week away. Get a couple of wins last night with the Mets and Yankees. And you also had Aaron Rodgers pop back on Pat McAfee yesterday, and there was some new stuff in there. So there's no reason to rehash all the things that happened when Aaron Rodgers was a Jet. But there's things about what he said, if you were to believe everything he said, that would give you some concern about the new regime sort of getting their feet wet as a first-time GM and a first-time head coach. So he wants to get into it. He wants to talk about it in this interview as I was listening, driving in. And he said that he thought he was going to fly across country and it was going to be hours of talking, and even if they were going to move on from him, he figured they would pick his brain and it would just be one of these real productive things. And it turned out that he sits in there, and as he's talking with Aaron Glenn in the middle of the conversation, as Aaron Rodgers tells it, Aaron Glenn gets up and darts out of the room. And he's like, well, that's really weird. We're in the middle of a conversation. So then he brings in Darren Muji at that point. So he goes out of the room, he brings in Muji. So then they're all three of them are sitting there. And they're talking. And then apparently, according to Aaron Rodgers, Muji's talking. And then Aaron Glenn scoots up to the end of his seat and goes, so you want to play football? And then Aaron Rodgers says, well, I mean, I'm trying to figure that out. You know, I don't know. And then he goes, well, we're going to go in a different direction. And then at that point, Aaron Rodgers is like, well, I flew across country on my own dime here for this to happen. And you're just like kind of acting in this way. And then, you know, he also said something along the lines of, he goes, you know, how do you want this to go down? Like, how do you want the release and the messaging? And Aaron Rodgers is like, I don't care about the messaging. And he goes, well, what I don't want to happen is have you stand in the back of the room, and then I tell the team, you know, we're moving on from you, and then all the teammates are looking back at you and rolling their eyes. And Aaron Rodgers goes, what do you think, I'm just going to stand back there and undermine you as the head? Like, you don't know me. Mm-hmm. And then Aaron Glenn goes, well, you don't know me. And then Aaron Rodgers says, exactly. That's why I flew out here to talk to you. And now you're just assuming things about me, and this is weird. So it ended up being like a 15-minute meeting. He hung around the facility for a little bit. He saw some of the training staff, and then he left. And that was that. But probably the most alarming thing that he said was a throwaway line that I don't know if many people, because that was big news there, might have picked up on. He goes, I feel like the coach, meaning Aaron Glenn, went a little rogue in this meeting because I had since had conversations with the general manager.
And Christopher Johnson.
So that to me is like, are you guys serious? You weren't on the same page there to the point where Aaron Glenn is now going rogue in this meeting, to the point where now Muji's reaching out after the fact going, hey, man, I'm sorry. Now, I don't know if Muji is lying to Aaron Rodgers and doing a good cop, bad cop thing. But Christopher Johnson, clearly he hates Woody, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, some of the things he was saying, never mentioned his name, because I shouldn't be surprised with some of the stuff that I saw there in the 2 years and all these things with Woody. But Christopher Johnson's a really, really nice guy, so he's always going to have a good relationship with the players. But, like, I don't always believe everything Aaron Rodgers says, and sometimes he could be a bit insufferable, but I believe everything he said yesterday, and I could not believe that they would handle it like that.
Well, so first off, I don't know that had I not seen Aaron Glenn with the media on the handful of occasions that we have since he's gotten this job, I don't know that I would have believed this. I would have thought that this was some Aaron Rodgers bull crap and maybe, highlighting or going a little too far and exaggerating a bit. But having seen the way Aaron Glenn dealt with Rich Cimini and the Jet reporters and shutting down the quarterback talk, and it's my way or the highway type of attitude, which, by the way, if you win is fine. But boy, oh boy, if you don't win, the fans are going to get sick of that attitude very quickly.
Well, the players, too.
The players, too. So this is how I look at everything. We have sat there, and I'd be the first one who sat there and killed Aaron Rodgers for the distractions he caused when he talked about not being having a team full of distractions, but I really feel like he was a big part of that. Okay, fine. We'll put that to the side. When I look at this in particular, and I watched it, and I saw the body, by the way, clean shaven. He looks like he's 10 years younger.
Yeah, and really happy out there in Malibu talking about
great.
Looking at the Dolphins. Yeah.
But everything he described, having seen Glenn with the media and the attitude he has, it made sense. I could actually envision the entire thing exactly the way Aaron Rodgers laid it out for us. And I don't think he was exaggerating at all. That sounds like the personality of Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, he needs to chill out a little bit. He's coming in here with too much of a chip on his shoulder and too much of I like the attitude of things have to change around here, and I have to have a stern personality and be the man. And those are the things we were asking for in a head coach, with someone with just experience. Like, you have to have the alpha, you have to have that guy. But he's taken it too far. He's fighting with everybody. He's going into this thing assuming things about everybody, which I really don't like. It's almost as if he was given this briefing by Woody Johnson or someone else in the organization, like, watch out for this guy. This guy's a jerk. This here, as opposed to coming in and forming his own opinions on the situation.
Maybe.
And he's just coming in and just fighting everybody.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
I'm envisioning this now, like a year from now, him saying, I came in here with a little bit too much of a chip on my shoulder, and I learned in the first year that, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, and I need to chill out. And then, by the way, he also, Aaron Rodgers, talked glowingly about Brian Daboll.
Yeah, he did.
How much he loved Brian Daboll.
A beautiful football mind.
A beautiful football mind, exactly.
Yeah.
He really loves the guy, and he was awesome, and he really loved those conversations and all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's telling to me, and these are the things that I was worried about when you're hiring all these first-time guys, again, with the Jets, is just, like, how are they going to figure all this out on the fly?
The other thing you pointed out, which also goes to Rodgers' credit on his way out the door, was the reaction from the current players on the roster. Now, they brought in Justin Fields. That's fine. They're not going with a rookie who's done nothing. I mean, he was 4-2 last year. He was drafted very highly out of Ohio State, so it's not like they brought in a nobody. So I want to be clear about that. But, when they let him go, you saw the tweets, and some were taken down. But I forget who it was, but there were a couple like, here we go, rebuilding again. Like, it seems to me that the players inside that, there's been a narrative by some that Aaron Rodgers is a team killer and he's an arrogant, selfish SOB. But then when you hear and talk to the players, it doesn't sound like that at all. It seems like there are two different narratives and stories, and you don't know which one's real. But I will tell you, the more I see of him and the more I have read and seen from his former teammates, the document, all this different stuff, I sometimes think, maybe it's the Jets. Maybe it's been the Jets. The injury sucked. There's nothing we can do about year one. I can't No, if I go back, I was actually thinking of this driving in because I saw the headlines before I watched the McAfee thing this morning. I was trying to think back to 2 years ago when the Rodgers to the Jets thing was a thing. And then when Rodgers to the Jets thing became a thing and became official. And the way he was received at Madison Square Garden and anywhere he went, and the idea that the Jets had a guy, there was nobody. I mean, you find me the group of people that thought it was a bad idea. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
Not because he came here and completely sucked, but because, the same way Vinny Testaverde's Achilles ruptured on the first quarter of the first game of the season. Crap happens, and it's a shame it didn't work out. But I'd love to know and be a fly in the room and know exactly how everybody feels about this guy.
Yeah, and I think that probably all of it is true. Like, I probably think that Garrett Wilson never got along on the same page as Aaron Rodgers, and him bringing in Devontae Adams pissed him off. I think that Mike Williams really didn't like the fact that he got publicly roasted about the red line, and he's not where he's supposed to be, and he probably could have handled that different. I also think that there's guys like Quinnen Williams and some of the guys on the defense that really appreciated him, and young guys that took his advice. And, when Mekhi Becton was here the first year, prior to going to Philadelphia, they had a relationship, and some of those. I think all of it's true because I just think that you can be different versions of yourself,
Yep.
And it depends on what experience you have. No one has the same consensus on any particular person. So I think all of it's true, but I just, the fact that the Jets made him fly out and handled the meeting that way and he said that, I just felt it lacked respect. I mean, which it did. I mean, if that's the truth, that's disrespectful and it's unprofessional, and hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. But now, and by the way, as we talk about the players and how they feel about him, the players who liked Aaron Rodgers are now going to watch that.
Oh, for sure.
And the ones that didn't want Aaron Rodgers to go are now going to have this on top of that, and are going to go into this season with even more of a bad taste in their mouth about the head coach.
Very possibly. Yeah, very possibly. There's no doubt. The one, maybe throwaway, but I thought it was funny when he was talking about the length of the meeting. And he goes, I was kind of embarrassed because I told my pilots, go spend the day, get some dinner. He goes, and I look at my watch, I was done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Hey, guys, we got to go back.
Right. Well, no, he ended up staying. He went back to his house, but yeah.
I know he did, but ultimately, at first, he thought he was going to walk right back to the plane after he told him to go have a day.
Yeah. No, and he said he was really excited about it and thought it would be a good meeting. And he also said, and I've been critical. I didn't want the Jets to bring Rodgers back because I think he's too old. He was going to get hurt again, and it just needed to end at that point. It needed to be a clean break. But the way they handled it, I think, was poor. But he is now. By the way, he talked a lot about the personal life stuff and what's going on and why he hasn't made a decision and all of these things. But I just at this point, it feels to me that he's going to walk away from the game.
Maybe.
And if this Jet thing had gone a little bit better than it did, he might have had more of an itch to play. But the fact that it was a nightmare and he is now out there dealing with personal stuff, it almost feels like the world is telling him, let's not go do this
Perhaps, but then why go do the whole thing with DK Metcalf? Why
because
go?
he's given it. He's probably, he's investigating all of it. I don't think that he's made up his mind. I think that he's investigating all of it.
See, I think, yes, but I still think we're sitting here 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that he's any closer to a decision today than he was yesterday. I mean, just watching that, there were times I'm watching that and I saw a guy who had determination still on his face that wanted to come back and not have it end this way. And then at other times when listening to him and hearing him about, he keeps saying the inner circle, he referenced his sister a bunch of times throughout the course of the interview. There's a guy that has other interests and has other things that he has to deal with. And maybe it isn't, maybe it is time. So to me, I walked away from the 45-minute interview thinking that he still himself is not quite sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, and the Giants thing, I guess, was a legitimate conversation, but of course that's not going to work out with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston here. I guess there have been conversations. He said he's very close with Kevin O'Connell out in Minnesota, but they talk all the time.
Right.
So he really didn't give any insight into that. He loved Mike Tomlin. He said he came in, flew into some different airport than Pittsburgh International, rented a Chevy Malibu, and tried to go into Pittsburgh with no one knowing about it.
And that was another interesting thing, too, because I think when you're watching that, you could be like, oh, here he goes. He's trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. And yet they dig up the photos of him actually, in the Chevy Malibu with the hood up and the sunglasses, trying to do it as quietly as possible. And I sit there and say, maybe what this guy's been saying has been, maybe he stretches the truth a little bit sometimes for sure. And maybe he's out there on some things, but maybe a lot of what he has been saying has been true.
Yeah, and I at least believed him with this particular thing because there's a lot of times where, you know, he people say, oh, he wants attention, he's this, he's doing that, he's holding everybody hostage. I mean, he explained that, like, you know, I haven't talked to anybody in a really long time.
Right. He said 3 months.
Like, and I was sneaking in and out of Pittsburgh in a rental Chevy Malibu. I'm not trying to put any more attention on myself. It's just that, you know, he gets covered in a certain way. So I've had my issues with Rodgers. I really didn't think that they should have brought him back, but it was eye opening. I mean, it's how you treat guys like that kind of shows you, you know, what type of person you are too.
We know it's a cutthroat business. There is no question about it. It is a cold business, and you got to make decisions that are going to be in the benefit or the best. It's for the best of the organization. I get all that, but again, I will come back to listening and watching Aaron Glenn when he got here and how abrasive he was right from the start. Everything that he described yesterday, I can see it vividly. It went down exactly the way he said.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like one of those things where, like, if you're meeting somebody for the first time and then someone told you things about the person that you're meeting that you're on guard for, and then you're just, like, coming out firing, you never even know the person, never met the person, never formed your own opinion.
Made up your mind already.
I mean, that's what, but he's doing that with everybody.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why there's a little bit of a track record. Had we not heard from Aaron Glenn, or even if you, let's say he had his introductory press conference, which was fine, but then it was when he broke off with the reporters. I forget who, it might have been Rich, it might have been someone else, when they asked about the quarterback situation, and he shot it down and said, we addressed that already. It's like, dude, you just got the job.
Yeah.
Like, relax. Everything's good. This is when it's supposed to be fun. You're going to have plenty of media sessions where it's going to be a back and forth that you're not going to be interested in. That wasn't one of them. And I think if he was, you know, I don't want to say friendly, but if he was more, you know, just kind of taking it as it comes in stride, we're all good, and answering the questions, I don't know that I would have believed that yesterday. But we've seen it. We've seen the abrasiveness and the personality, and it seemed to me it described it probably to a T.
Yeah, I remember that press conference he had. He's like, you know, I'm done talking about the quarterback. That's a disrespect to the other players on this roster. You know, all these guys and Quentin Williams and this and that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. I remember you guys got on him for it at the time.
What?
I remember. Yeah,
didn't make any sense.
I agree.
This is it, man. This is part of the job.
And like I said, that's fine, but you better win. Because if you don't win and you act this way, the media is going to tear every decision you make to shreds. And you are not going to have any, you're going to have enemies, not friends, on the other side.
Like, that would be the equivalent of someone meeting me out and asking a question that I always get. Like, hey, yeah, what's Boomer really like off the air? And you go, you know, this is a disrespect to Al, to Eddie, to Jerry, and all the other people that are out there, the Pat Boyles of the world. You just asked me about this guy. I mean, you know, It takes everybody to win and be good.
Yeah.
Like, you expect these questions.
Bizarre.
Deal with it better.
It really was bizarre.
Yeah. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Boomer out again today. CeeLo is here. We'll check in with his hiccups. We'll see if this is day 4 or 5 for him with the hiccups. We got some weather.